Two races down, 22 more to go. Is it time to change things up in F1 fantasy? Let's check it out. What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Backup Fantasy Sports. It is Tuesday, March 12th. My name is Ewan, and on today's episode, we're going to get into some F1 fantasy with a Saudi Arabia Grand Prix review / early Australian Grand Prix preview. I will be doing a full Australian Grand Prix preview episode next week, but just kind of wanted, after two races, kind of check in how we're all doing. I'm not doing so hot. I know some other people aren't doing so hot. So let me know in the comments below how your team is doing. If you don't have time for the full episode, the little segments of the show will be in the timestamps below. And while you're down there, just like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, podcast, wherever you are watching or listening. Would greatly appreciate it. Past 200 subscribers last week after the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. So super grateful to everyone that is supporting the channel. But let's get into it here. First off, so this will be a Saudi Arabia Grand Prix review, early Australia Grand Prix preview. Then there's another Australian Grand Prix preview episode coming out, and there will be a live stream 1 hour before qualifying at 4 a.m. Germany time. So an hour before qualifying, wherever you are in the world, I will be here on YouTube live, kind of talk about my team, your team, answering all the questions before a very crucial Australian Grand Prix qualifying session, because it's only two races, but stuff has shaken up in F1 fantasy, and I am one of the people that needs to make a drastic change. So at the end of this episode, I will be kind of looking at my early team selection thoughts for the Australian Grand Prix preview. So just skip ahead to that if that is all you're interested in. But I would highly suggest you just stick around for the whole episode. But deadline, live stream, qualifying, Australian Grand Prix a couple of weeks from now. So definitely check that out as well. Saudi Arabia Grand Prix facts and stats here. Ollie Behrman was the star of the show after Carlos Sainz had to have a emergency surgery for appendicitis. So hopefully Carlos is feeling better. He was in the garage on Saturday watching the race. So I guess that was a speedy recovery, but good job by him, I guess. But better job by Ollie Behrman. He was not part of the optimal team for Saudi Arabia here. The optimal team was Red Bull and Ferrari, Leclerc ×2, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Magnussen, and Logan Sargent. Those back markers were pretty big this weekend, especially for Haas. Great job by them with the team strategy to get Nico Hulkenberg that point on Saturday evening. Positions gained, it was Hulkenberg and Sargent with 5, Behrman and Ocon with 4. Overtakes, Behrman, Magnussen with 6. That's tied for the most this season out of the first two races. And Alexander Albon with 5. Fastest pit stop. Red Bull returned to the top of the fastest pit stop standings with 13 points out of the 18 points. And Mercedes getting in there with 5 points as well. So the Silver Arrows said that they invested in their pit stop equipment over the off season, and 2 races in, it looks like it's already paying off. So that is something to keep an eye on. The driver of the day was Ollie Behrman. He really did steal the show in Saudi Arabia. 18 years old, just 1 free practice session, qualified 11th, finished 7th, 4 positions gained, 6 overtakes. Super impressive. Tied with Magnussen now for the most overtakes in one race for the 2024 season. Ferrari now with back-to-back Driver of the Day awards to open the year. So that's pretty interesting. Is there a strong swell of support for the Tifosi coming out of F1.com voters? Or Sainz and Behrman both deserved it. So I don't think we need to make any drastic jumps there, and he could be on the team for Australia. We're going to kind of wait on the health of Carlos Sainz for that update. So the thing is, if you did go with Ollie Behrman, that means you use the transfer to bring him in, and when he leaves the game, whenever Carlos Sainz is healthy, you will have to use a transfer to take him out of your squad. We kind of had that whole thing with Nick DeVries, Danny Ricciardo, and Liam Lawson last season around the Dutch Grand Prix. So make sure that you have enough transfers to kind of do what you want. You do have the wild card if you would rather use that. That is in my thoughts this week. But I do have 3 free transfers for Australia after I rolled one for Saudi Arabia. Didn't really work out all that well. As you can see, 348K in the world, pretty much. So not a great job by me, but great job by Ollie Behrman. It would be kind of fun to see him stick around for one more race in Australia. But with Ferrari and Haas having such a close relationship, it could be interesting to see if he is uh, in one of those seats at some point this year. I don't think Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg have done anything to deserve to lose their seat, but just something to keep an eye on just in case that comes around. Optimal teams here from F1fantasytools.com. Great resource. Go check that out for all your F1 stats needs. Optimal team, like I said, Red Bull, Ferrari, Leclerc, Hulk, Ocon, Magnussen, Sargent. If you had to have Checo in your team, the best team for that was Red Bull, Ferrari, Perez, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Magnussen, Sargent. That would have gotten you 241 points compared to the optimal 253. So not a huge difference there. If you had to have Max, it was Red Bull and Haas as your constructors, with Verstappen as your two times, Alonso, Hulkenberg, Ocon, and Sargent. That would have gotten you 221 points. And must have Max and Red Bull. Same squad here. Red Bull, Haas, Verstappen, Alonso, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Sargent. 100.2,221 points. So not a huge difference between the optimal lineup and the must-have Checo lineup. But as you can see, for the second week in a row, having Max Verstappen in your F1 fantasy team is a hindrance. And I did not think in the preseason that I would be saying that. I was pretty sure that Max plus Red Bull would be able to kind of make up anything. But with Ferrari looking as strong as they are right now, I think changes need to be made. You saw the title of this episode on the thumbnail, knee jerk after Jeddah. Yeah, it's happening. So I think in the Saudi Arabia preview show, I was saying happy to hold, happy to wait for one more race. All the first three tracks are different, quite different for like tire deg and like what team it suits and all that stuff. So it's a little concerning if I do knee jerk after Jeddah before Australia. But I think with the 3 free transfers I have for Melbourne, Albert Park, I think I can, if it's still wrong after that, I'll just hit the wild card. I said that in preseason a lot. I'm not afraid to hit the wild card early. So after the 3 free transfers, if it's still looking bad, the wild card will probably get activated. A big thing right now in F1 fantasy is building budget, and we need to figure out who is rising faster than most. So here are all the driver price changes. The 20 drivers I do have Behrman on here instead of Sainz, just as a note, because we don't know if Sainz is going to be healthy for Australia. So it's just something to note there. And the 10 constructors coming up in a little bit here. So Verstappen started on 30. He's at 30.4. He's gone up 0.4, but the main guys here, Perez and Leclerc, 1.3 million. That is a lot of money. There are people out there who can already afford Verstappen, Ferrari, Red Bull. And in my brain, that is the optimal lineup. I don't really care who else you have at the back. That's kind of the logic that got me in trouble with Max and Red Bull. And I was like, I'll just figure it out from there. But Verstappen, Ferrari, and Red Bull, those are the 3 strongest assets that you can possibly have in the game right now, getting them in nice and early. The price changes for Verstappen may not always come through, but he's ticking up 0.2 every race. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So I don't mind that. But Perez and Leclerc 1.3. If you are like me, where you've had Verstappen and Red Bull and you are mightily struggling and you would like to catch up to what I would call the meta at this point, I'm going to assume a lot of people are going to be on that kind of Perez, Ferrari, Red Bull, Leclerc, Ferrari, Red Bull lineup until they can get to the Verstappen, Ferrari, Red Bull lineup. Yes, we need to get on these guys as fast as possible. Perez and Leclerc have gone up 1.3. Ollie Behrman's gone up 1 million after his race. That would be an interesting kind of, I don't think it's going to be for me, but if you're in a stronger position where you already have Perez, it could be interesting if you can get on Behrman and kind of ride that price rise for one more week and then transfer it out. If you have the transfers, I'm not sure it's worth the 10-point hit. It paid off last week, obviously, with his 26 points, but yeah, something to think about. But this is early team selection kind of thoughts for Australia there. But Hamilton, 0.2, not really ticking along. Piastri, Russell, Alonso have all gone up 0.4. I've been looking at the data and like what's going where, why these price rises are the way they are. Still haven't figured it out. If anything does come across in any of the like Discord channels, F1 Fantasy Reddit, I will definitely post it on X at UNFPL. So make sure to follow me there. I'm gonna keep trying to figure this out because I'm not sure if it's just like a losing cause and there's no logic to it, but I would love to figure this out because it's quite frustrating to not know or kind of like I expect this guy to do this, but I have no idea what the price rise is going to be. Because yeah, Perez going up 0.3 after his second place, and then a million after another second place in Jeddah. Yeah, kind of confusing there. Bottom 10 drivers here. Esteban Ocon's gone up 1 million despite Alpine's terrible qualifying. Ocon has kept it clean, keeps finishing his races, so he's gone up 1 million. He's 8.8 million now. Ricardo's gone down. Sonoda's gone down. It's been a bad start for the Visa Cash App RB team. Gasly DNF, well, or did not start, or yeah, he did not finish because he did one lap and then got eliminated from the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Magnussen's got up 1 million after his 2 good races, and Bottas has gone down 0.4 as well. So pretty disappointing there for Bottas. I went to him instead of Magnussen this week, and that cost me about 0.7 in budget. So that kind of stung. But yeah, Ocon might be an option for me this week or next week in Australia, but that's where I'm at right now. Visa Cash App RB, the bet that I made that they would be kind of the 5th or 6th best team has not come to pass. So yeah, I will probably be getting off of their assets for Australia. Despite it being Danny Ricciardo's home race, he has not looked comfortable this season so far. He's down 2-0 in qualifying to Sonoda, and Saturday was not a good race for him either. Gasly, that's more of a car thing, I think. Gasly's pretty talented. I mean, you can see Ocon just finishing the races, and he's going up in price. So that might be an option for us there. Moving over to the constructors, haven't been huge swings, but Ferrari's gone up 0.6. So really want to get on them as fast as possible. Aston Martin's gone up 0.4. Visa Cash App RB down 0.2, Alpine down 0.3, Kick Sauber down 0.3, but Haas and Williams on the rise, so they are no longer bottom of the barrel. Kick Sauber is there 6.3 as the lowest constructor. Red Bull 28.2 million. That's a hefty chunk of your budget there. McLaren 23.5, 23.6 actually. Let me just double check that here. Yeah, 23.6 for McLaren. So they've gone up 0.4 as well. Mercedes kind of just ticking along there. Nothing too impressive there. But Ferrari and Red Bull, the 2 strongest assets by far. So here's how the squad is looking heading into Australia. 10 days, 22 hours until lineups lock. So definitely something to watch there. Here we are with Lance Stroll, Max Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo, Valtteri Bottas, Alexander Albon, Red Bull Racing, and Visa Cash App RB. I have 3 free transfers, and I will be certainly using all of them. Let me know how many transfers you have in the comments below and what you are thinking for Australia, but this is just generally where my thoughts are. So it's going to be bye-bye to Max. It's going to be bye-bye to Visa Cash App RB. So that leaves me with enough money here to get Sergio. And then here I am, 2.1 short of getting to Ferrari. So I need to get rid of some money somehow here. So Daniel Ricciardo is a possibility here. That will leave me with, where can I go? Well, let me get in Ferrari here. So that's there. And then with the drivers, I got 6.6 left. Sort by value here. So pretty much my options are Valtteri Bottas, who I already have, and it's only Logan Sargent. So that's not great, obviously. So I'll probably leave Danny Rick in for his home race there. So it's probably going to have to be Lance Stroll as the make weight for my team to get this in here and get Sergio Perez in with Red Bull and Ferrari. That leaves me here with Esteban Ocon, Sonoda, Gasly, Magnussen, pretty much any of the back markers as I see fit. I'll probably wait for some simulations to come out. it can't get much worse for Pierre Gasly as it has started. So I would think, like, just with the way that, look, Esteban Ocon has scored 7 and 8 points, and he's gone up 1 million so far this season. Um, Gasly scored 6 points and did not go up that much, but yeah, Saudi Arabia, 20 points, not great there. But it feels like just if Gasly can trundle around at the back of the pack, kind of move up the field for any DNFs in Australia, that he will likely go up zero point 0.5. Like, it's hard to say with how these things are going, but without any like kind of confirmed. But yeah, maybe Gasly there. Give me 1.4 million. I don't think Ocon can keep going up zero point 0.5 every weekend. I don't trust Sonoda. I don't want to kind of expose myself to zero point 0.5 or 2 assets in the Visa Cash App RB team. Danny Rick is probably going to have to go soon because he doesn't look as good as Sonoda, despite outscoring him on the season, as you can see here. We'll see what Haas is doing. They've been pretty impressive over the first 2 races of the season. Magnussen, 14 points. He's gone up 1 million. So something to think about there. But right now, this is kind of what I'm thinking. I'm going to have to get rid of Lance Stroll, which is unfortunate because I liked having some exposure to that Aston Martin car. But this is where my thoughts are at heading into Australia. Let me know what your thoughts are heading into Albert Park. And yeah, the video next week, the Australia Grand Prix preview episode, will get more into this. So like I said, this is the first video of probably 3 kind of talks I will have about the Australia Grand Prix. This is kind of more of a Saudi Arabia review / early team thoughts. I'll have the full Australian Grand Prix preview coming out next week, and there will be a deadline live stream. So definitely set your calendars for that. Wherever you are in the world, that will be me talking at 4 a.m. ish with some coffee, just kind of breaking down FP3, FP2, the practice debrief that F1.com will give us overnight. So definitely looking forward to that. But once again, thanks for all the support. Really appreciate everyone getting the channel over 200 subscribers. If you are not one of those people, just click that subscribe button real quick. 250 is the next target, I guess. We are just moving on to bigger and greater things. Like the video. Really appreciate any feedback, comments. Let me know what you are thinking ahead of the Australian Grand Prix and how you did in Jeddah. Are you also going to be knee-jerking your team out like I have been, or are you going to be steady Eddie? Are you one of those teams that can get to the Verstappen, Ferrari, Red Bull? Are you worried about back markers? Just let me know. Hit me up on X at FPL, or leave a comment below this video. But once again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I will see you next week for the Australia Grand Prix preview episode, the full episode, and I will talk to you next time.